Question number 1. Explain the importance of listening. Answer. It is usually understood that hearing refers to the process of perception of sound, while listening refers to hearing with thoughtful attention. Listening is a crucial component of effective communication. It enables better understanding of others' ideas, perspectives, and emotions, facilitating clear and meaningful interactions. Good listeners tend to form stronger relationships. Active listening helps to prevent misunderstandings. By carefully hearing others' viewpoints, we can clarify any misconceptions and avoid unnecessary conflicts. Listening promotes learning from others, whether it's in a classroom or a professional setting. Absorbing information through attentive listening helps in personal and intellectual growth. Listening is vital for problem solving. When we actively listen to others' concerns and perspectives, we can collaborate on finding effective solutions that address everyone's needs. Attentive listening shows respect and empathy towards others. It demonstrates that you value their thoughts and feelings. Effective leaders are often excellent listeners. By understanding the needs and opinions of their team member, leaders can make informed decisions that inspire and motivate their teams. Next question. What are the different types of listening? Explain. Answer. Listening is a dynamic process that goes beyond the act of hearing. It involves interpreting, understanding, and responding to the messages being communicated. A simpler classification of listening skills is given by Adrian Doff in his book on Teach English, a training course for teachers. He classifies listening into two types: casual listening and focused listening. Casual listening. Casual listening refers to listening without any particular purpose, while focused listening refers to listening with a particular purpose. Listening skills can be classified into several types by closely looking at the purpose. There are some types of listening. First one, appreciative listening. It is same as casual listening. Appreciative listening is centered around enjoying and deriving pleasure from the auditory experience. Listeners engage with music, stories, poetry, or any form of entertainment to appreciate the aesthetic and emotional aspects. This type of listening contributes to relaxations, enjoyment, and cultural enrichment. Empathetic listening. Empathic listening involves not only understanding the words being spoken but also grasping the emotions and feelings behind them. Listeners try to get a better understanding of what they are talking about. Then we advise them on what they could do to solve their problems. Comprehensive listening. The purpose behind watching the news on TV or listening to the news on radio is not for entertainment, it is to know what is happening around us. This type of listening is referred to as comprehensive listening. This type of listening needs not only attention but also active participation in the process. One needs more practice in comprehensive listening to be able to become a strong listener. Critical listening. Critical listening focuses on evaluation and analyzing the information being presented. Listeners assess the validity of the speaker's arguments, evidence, and conclusions. This type of listening is crucial in academic settings, decision-making process, and when encountering persuasive messages in various contexts. Active listening. Active listening is characterized by full engagement and focus on the speaker. Listeners pay close attention to both verbal and non-verbal cues, aiming to understand the speaker's message. They use techniques like nodding, maintaining eye contact, and providing feedback to demonstrate their involvement. Active listening is essential in building strong relationships, resolving conflicts, and fostering empathy. Relationship listening. Relationship listening emphasizes building and maintaining connections with others. Listeners pay attention to their conversation partners' feelings, opinions, and experiences. Discriminative listening. Discriminative listening focuses on distinguishing and interpreting different sounds and tones. Discriminative listening is valuable in learning languages, music appreciation, and understanding verbal cues. Next question. What are the various barriers to listening? Explain. Answer. Effective listening is a complex skill that involves not only hearing words but also understanding their meaning and context. However, various barriers can impede the process of listening. Understanding these barriers is crucial for improving communication and enhancing relationships. First one, physical barriers. The environment in which communication taking place affects listening. Public places like railway stations, bus stands, shopping malls, cinema malls, parks, and manufacturing units are usually noisy. Linguistic barriers. Listening comprehension may become difficult because of linguistic barriers. That is, a language also may become a source of block for listening. Sometimes we do not understand what the speaker is saying because of the knowledge of language. If a listener's knowledge is low, he or she will have problems in listening comprehension. Particularly, one's vocabulary affects listening. Not only vocabulary, sometimes speaker's pronunciation may interfere with listening comprehension. Psychological barrier. Factors which influence our listening may also be related to our mental state. For instance, if you are not interested in a lecture but we are forced to attend the lecture, we cannot concentrate on the lecture and we will not understand any of the points in the lecture. Such barriers are referred to as psychological barriers. Semantic barriers. Language barriers, including unfamiliar vocabulary, technical terms, can lead to confusion and misinterpretation of the message. Misuse of words, poor articulation, or unclear speech can make it difficult to decipher the speaker's intended meaning. Cultural barriers. Differences in cultural norms, nonverbal cues, and communication styles can lead to misunderstandings or misinterpretations. Lack of awareness about cultural nonsense can result in miscommunication. Information overload. Excessive information or a flood of details can overwhelm a listener's capacity to process and retain the content. When there is excessive information, only certain parts of message are absorbed. Lack of focus. Inattentiveness or a wandering mind can cause listeners to miss important points and fail to fully engage with the speaker's message. Distractions from smartphones, social media, or personal thoughts can disrupt concentration. Lack of interest. When listeners perceive the topic as uninteresting and irrelevant, they may mentally tune out or fail to engage with the message. A lack of motivation to listen can hinder understanding retention of the information. Defensive listening. When listeners feel criticized, attacked, or threatened, they may become defensive and focus on formulating counter arguments rather than understanding the message. External pressure. Time constraints, pressure to respond quickly, or a desire to multitask can divert attention away from listening and understanding the message. Recognizing and addressing these barriers can significantly enhance communication skills. Next question. What are the qualities of a good listener? Good listeners are fully engaged and attentive when someone is speaking. They focus on the speaker's words, body language, and tone to gain a comprehensive understanding. Patient listeners allow speakers to express themselves without interruptions, giving them the time they need to convey their thoughts and feelings. A good listener approaches conversations with an open mind, ready to consider different viewpoints and perspectives without immediately judging or dismissing them. Good listeners show empathy by understanding and sharing the speaker's emotions. They validate the speaker's feelings and experiences, creating a supportive environment. Effective listeners use nonverbal cues like maintaining eye contact, nodding, and using appropriate facial expressions to signal their interest and misunderstanding. They ask relevant questions that show they are actively processing the information and seeking clarification or a deeper insight into the speaker's message. Next question. What are the differences between active listening and passive listening? Active listening. Active listening involves fully focusing on the speaker, showing interest through verbal and non-verbal cues. Examples: nodding while a friend shares their story, asking questions for clarification during a lecture. Active listeners respond with thoughtful comments that show they have processed the information. Example: providing feedback after a presentation, asking follow up questions in a conversation. This approach aims to understand both the spoken words and the emotions behind them. Examples: showing empathy when a colleague expresses frustration, offering support to a friend going through a tough time. Passive listening. Passive listening involves hearing the speaker's words without necessarily actively focusing on them. Examples: having the TV on while doing chores, hearing announcements in a public space. Passive listeners might respond with simple acknowledgements but don't engage deeply. Examples: responding with a brief yeah during a casual conversation, nodding in agreement without really following the discussion. Passive listeners, passive listeners may grasp the basic content but might miss nonsense or emotions. Examples: catching key points from a podcast while multitasking, hearing the main topic of meeting without fully comprehending the details. Thank you. Thank you so much, students, for watching this video. Subscribe our channel and press bell icon for more updates.